How connected are you? We all know that it is so important to be connected through the internet to your community. But does internet cellular coverage impact your community? Is the connections that you have, your speeds and feeds, influence your ability to connect with others? Let's use computer science to solve this problem. First, the process. We need to collect data, visualize that information, interpret our findings, and communicate those results. This is a problem that computer science is perfectly suited for. We'll start by collecting some data. We need to build a form, collect that information that we can share with others, and manage that information in such a way that is more approachable by more people. This is the tool that we will use to collect our data. You can click this link, bit.ly/data collector, and you'll pull up this document. You can make your own copy. All the steps that will be required are built into the tool itself. You can follow along with this video or look at the text right in front of you. Let's get started. First, we're going to create the collection tool by connecting a form to this sheet in front of us. You'll notice down at the bottom there are the Directions tab, the Device tab, the Bars tab, the Date tab, and the Location tab. We'll get to all of those as we go forward. First, go up to Tools and create a new form. This is the form we'll use to collect our data. We'll share this with others and we'll fill it out ourselves. So the first thing is to rename it. Instead of copy of data collector, let's call this Internet Coverage. You can put a form description if you'd like, giving more information to the user entering their information into this form. If you want to change the color scheme, right now it's kind of purple, up here in the upper right you'll see a little palette icon. And this won't affect the content of the form, but you can change it to any color you'd like. And if you don't like the ones that are selected, you can actually add your own custom color. And you can also choose images. So if you want to grab one that is a little bit more attuned to what you're looking for. I like this leaf one right here. I'm going to grab this one. All right. Once you've chosen a theme, up in the upper right, you can click right the X, and we can keep going. You can change the color scheme or the theme at any time, and it won't affect what you type inside. Our first question here, where it says Untitled Question, we're going to rename it to Name. And when you do that, you'll notice that it should have changed to Short Answer. If it didn't, click that little drop-down menu right here, and you'll choose Short Answer as your first option. All the questions we're going to ask, we want them to be required. We want to make sure that the person filling out the form is actually putting something in there. Now for our next question. On the right side, you see a little circle with a plus inside of it. If you click that little circle with a plus, that will add a new question. And our next question is going to be device. This is not going to be a drop-down. This is actually going to be a multiple choice. And we're going to give choices inside of here. Now, it is important that these are spelled correctly because you're going to access them later on. So the most common type of device that people will use to access the internet with cell coverage will be a phone. But there may be some other ones. So we might add tablet, laptop, hotspot, and if we click the Add Other link right here, that will be open-ended. So if somebody has something else that we haven't included, they can add theirs as well. I can click down here where it says Required, and we'll turn that on. As I mentioned, all of these will be turned on. The next question, I'm going to click that little circle with a plus inside of it again, is going to be carrier. So what carrier will they use? So this is going to be the type of question will be a drop down, and we'll put in our options. So AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, US Cellular, and I'm going to add another option. Those are the most commonly used, but in case we didn't include one that's out there, we'll just add other, and they can choose that. This will be required. Click the plus with a circle around it, and we'll do the next question. What percent bars do you have? So this is a little tricky one because each type of phone or each type of device may have a different indicator on how much coverage they have. If they're full bars or half bars or quarter bars or 0 bars. So we don't want to ask how many bars, because if they said 1 or 2 or 4 or 5, we don't know what that's out of. That might be 5 out of 10, that might be 5 out of 5. So if we say what percentage, then they might say 50%, it's half full, or 100%, or 75%, it's 3/4 full. So the problem there is if we put in a short answer or multiple choice, we'll have to put a lot of percentages. So we'll choose linear scale as a choice, as a type of question right here. And we'll change that to 0 and 10. So 0 will be 0% coverage, and 10 would be 100% coverage. So if you have full coverage, you'd have out of 10. If you'd have half coverage, let's say 2 out of 4 bars, that would be 50% and so forth. We'll make that required, and we'll add a new question. Okay. Whoops. Okay. Download speed. So for download speed, we want to know exactly what their coverage actually is, not that it's pretty good. And so there's a couple ways to do that, but the easiest way, if you go back to your spreadsheet, the data collector we actually have some links in here that you can just copy. So in cell D16, I'm going to copy that link, and I'm going to click on the 3 dots right here, go to description, and paste that in. And the reason why I do that is when somebody pulls this up on their own phone, they can just click that link, and they'll bring them to a page that looks like this. And they can run their own speed test immediately, very easily, built right into the browser. So it's a really easy way to do that. Now, that's the link. Now we want to make sure that they put in the correct answer that they received. So I'm going to click on those 3 dots again and go down to response validation. We want to make sure that it's a number. So I can say it must be a number, and it can be is number. We don't want someone to put text in there and say, oh, it's pretty good, or something, a symbol or something wrong. But it really needs to be a number for the answer. So this all looks good, their download speed. Now we want to do their upload speed, but I don't want to retype all this again. So I'm just going to click on this. Whoops, let's make that required. I'm going to click on this little copy link right there. And this is the exact question twice. And now I'm just going to change the name of it from download to upload speed. And when you do a speed test, if I click right here, you'll get both of them. They'll show you the downloads, and they'll show you the uploads right here. Built right into the browser, which is pretty handy. All right, next question. The last question. This one is location. So this one we're actually going to change this to a paragraph text so they can have plenty of room to type in. We're going to make it required. And we are also going to add a description, just like we did last time. So this link is going to come back here. If I keep going down, we can copy. It is a website called What 3 Words. And we'll explain what that does. So there is our form. This looks pretty good. And again, if at any point I need to come in here and edit it, I can. Let's see what it looks like in action. So if I wanted to complete this right now, and it's pretty good. It's a good idea to do a test with it at first anyway. So I'm going to go up to the very top, click the little eyeball. That's going to give me a preview. Okay, it's going to have my name there. So I'm going to put my name. Right now I'm actually on a laptop. Whose carrier? This would be Verizon. Let's put it to my phone. I'm pretty good. I'm almost 100%, so I'll say about 90% bars. I did my speed test, and so it was 36 down, and geez, not very good, 0.09 up. So 36 down and 0.09 up. And here's for my location. So how this works, I'm going to click on that link, what 3 words. Now it's going to give me some pop-ups here. We're just going to close those out. So if you think about GPS and the globe, it's pretty broad. And so what this tool does, what 3 words, is it splits up the entire Earth into 1 meter squares. Every meter has a unique identifier. Now it could be a number, which would be fine, like let's say, like a GPS coordinates. But they've actually done it a little bit differently. They've actually done it with words. And the reason why they did it that way is if you wanted to give somebody an address, all you have to do is remember 3 words, and it would be exactly that 1 meter somewhere in the world. So if I gave you these 3 words, warning, smile, tangle, that would give you this exact meter in front of our school. And there's some funny ones, there's some weird ones, all kinds of different words. But you can go through and find one. Oh, this is kind of funny. We'll use this one. Outgoing, statues, egging. So those 3 words. Now that's a little bit easier to remember. But I'm going to copy that exact location. So if I was doing a cell phone check right now, if I was outside the school and I had my cell phone and I was doing a download and upload speed test, I could be standing right there within a meter, and I could copy this address, go back to my form here, and I could paste it right in there. And that looks pretty good. We'll submit. And now if I want to do another one, I could click submit another response and do it again. Let's go back here and see if this all looks pretty good. It looks outstanding. I can see I now have 1 response. Here it is. So this is built into Forms, and I could use this, but I'm actually going to go jump back 1 more and go to my spreadsheet. And you notice here, when we had it up before, down the lower left, you'll see it now. There's a new tab called Form Responses 1, and this has the information that I would use. All right. This is if I was going to do that information. I want to share it with other people. What would I do? In the upper right, there's a send button right here. Click on that. I could email it to myself. And that would send me a link. I could also email it to a friend of mine. Let's say I want to email it to somebody else. So they would get this link, and when they do, they could just click on their phone, and it would open up as its own in the own browser tab, and they could fill it out. I'm going to send that. And so now the next step is to go collect some data. Now that we've collected some data using our form, we should have had many different people use this to collect, information from around their area, around the school, really expanding where our data collection will be. It should look something like this back in your spreadsheet. So if I go down to the Form Responses 1 tab, you'll see here's some timestamps, names, what device they used, the carrier, what percentage bars it was, download speed, upload speed, and then locations. So we're going to use this data that you've collected, and I'm going to go right across the bottom here where it says device is the next tab. So this next piece is going to be not hard, but really important that it's done correctly. So if we go into cell B3, and you'll notice here in each of these tabs, the cell that's a light beige color, that's the one you're going to actually edit and change. So if I look at this one right here, it just has some text in it. It says the function called index, and we'll show you what that does in a second. But if I want to turn it on and kind of enable it, I need to add an equal sign to the beginning of it. So I'm going to go up here to the formula bar. Let's see right here. I'm going to click in there with my cursor. I'm going to go to the very, very beginning. I'm going to put the equal sign. And when you add an equal sign, it turns it on or enables it, and see how it changes color as well. So I added an equal sign. I'm now going to hit the Enter key. And what that will do now is it will show me here, okay, here's the list of names, and here's the devices they used. This function called index will reference another tab. So if I went over here and made a change, let's say I'm going to put my full name here instead of just my first name. And so now if I go back to that same device tab, you'll see here it's been changed right here. And so I'm not actually changing it on this tab, I'm changing it on the other one and referencing it. Okay, so it shows us what we have. Now let's put some icons that go with the type of device. So we use the indexed function. We're now going to use the image function. And as I mentioned, anywhere that they have this light beige background, I'm just going to click in that cell, so D3, go up to the formula bar way up at the top, go all the way to the left. I'm going to put an equal sign at the beginning of that, and that will enable that. And what it's going to enable, if I pull this down, it's going to actually add images for each one of these. So one thing that is important is you'll see right here in the lower right corner, there's like a little blue square. That takes a formula and you can pull it down so it will basically copy itself for each every cell. So if I put my cursor over it, it will turn into crosshairs like that. I can click and hold down and drag all the way down the bottom. And what you'll see here is these icons will appear. Well, what are these icons? So these icons reference over here to the right. And so if I look over here to the right, I'll see in a phone is going to have this icon. And you see it looks like a little phone here. The tablet will have this icon, and each one will have their own version. Here's the tablet, here's the hotspot, and you can see them over here. And so each name over here will have its own unique image that's associated with it. All right, and that's the image filter. The tool that's using here, it's called filter, as you can see right here. And basically what it's saying is, show me everything in this column, column G, where column F equals whatever the name is. So phones right here, and therefore phones over here. And it's going to connect those two things. Oops. All right, let's go to our next tab. So down at the bottom here, where it says bars, I'm going to click on that. And we're going to do the exact same thing. So I'm going to go down to B3. And there's my formula, which is all kinds of stuff. I'm not worried about what it says right now. All I know is I'm going to put an equal sign at the very beginning. So if I click up here on the upper left, click the equal sign, that will kind of enable it or turn it on, hit enter. And now what we have going on, we're talking about our carriers. So here they're listed. What percentage bars are they? So they'll show us what percentage based on what was entered. You also notice here a tool called a sparkline, and see how it looks kind of like a little chart. It's a little graph that goes in an individual cell. It kind of connects each one of these directly, which is cool. Now it says maximum percentage of bars. We didn't go out of 20, we actually went out of 10. So if I change that to 10 right up here, you'll see how this adjusts accordingly. So this is basically a graph built right into a single cell based on what was put in here. So this was 8, 6, 3, 0, and so forth. This is just a really handy way of using the sparkline. The other cool thing too is, if you want to change the color, right now, let's say we did green, we can change it to, let's change it to red, formula, and again, I can pull that right down using that cursor tool right in the corner there, and then it will update for all of them. All right. We're going to actually add another chart in a little while, but we're going to do that when we visualize the data in a little bit. Moving on to the Date tab. One thing you may have noticed back in the Form Responses tab is that it automatically adds a timestamp. You don't have to do anything for that. It just is there. And so if I go to the Date tab, let's say we wanted to know how long between when somebody entered information and it was now. We have it calculated automatically. So we're going to use a tool called DateIf, which is right here. So again, just like all the other ones, we're going to go to B3. add our equal sign at the very beginning of it, hit enter. There's our names, cool. There's our timestamps. And this tool right here is basically saying what's the difference between when the timestamp was created, when that entry was created, and today. And so we can see, I actually added a date to this. This is called the now function, and it just says what's today's date, and we actually add the date to that. So it'll be for tomorrow. And that will show us the difference between those two. So the benefit of that is tomorrow this will actually update every single day. And the reason why it's important is, let's say somebody did an entry and they did it today, and then they went back 2 months later, or a month later, or a week later, and they did it again, and it's changed. So we want to know how long ago. So this if it's a really long time ago for the entry, it's maybe not as accurate, and so we have to redo it again. So it's useful to have the date and the time to know how long it's been since it's been entered for data collection. All right, the final tab down here, the location. This is probably the most important one for what we're going to use it for, to know kind of our coverage compared to the area. We're going to go to cell B3, just like all the other times, go up to the formula bar, go all the way to the left and add an equal sign. So we have a lot going on here. We've got our names, our devices, the percentage of bars, and the locations. Now, one of the things that's going on here, so these are all those what three words locations that we found. And if I go into cell G4, you'll notice that all of these are already listed here. Now, this is a tool called concatenate, and it basically takes each of these cells individually and it puts them all together as one. Well, why do we need to do that? Well, I'm going to show you. We're going to copy this cell right here. I'm going to copy the entire thing. Control-C on a PC, or Command-C on a Mac, or Control-C on a Chromebook, depending on what you're using. And then I'm going to go to this link down here, which is the what three words link right in here. Let's click on that. And I'm going to paste it. Control-V or Command-V. Now, when I paste them over here on the left side, now this is called a batch converter. That means it's going to turn all of these names into GPS coordinates. And the benefit of that is that we can put right directly into a map. One thing it does do, though, it adds these little quotes at the bottom of it, so I have to delete that, and you'll see another quote up here at the top. So I have to remove that as well. So now I have all those same, look back here, all these same locations all in one place. Very good. And now I can convert to GPS coordinates right here. And it will show me once I click it right here. So all of these coordinates. I'm going to select all these numbers in here and copy them. Again, Control-C or Command-C. If I keep moving over here, you'll see in column I, now I'm going to paste those. I just basically copied and pasted them, and here are all the same coordinates. So this is the GPS coordinates, and this is the actual what three words coordinates. Now, again, why, they're the same information, two different ways of looking at it. The value of that is, if I was to give you this and kind of read it off to you, it would be very easy to forget. Where if I said, electricity refused turntable, that's easier to remember. 3 words isn't too bad. It's a little bit easier to find a location. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to download our information in a format that we can input it into Google Maps, and so we can visualize it. Because right now it looks like this, which is cool, but doesn't help us in terms of seeing where coverage actually is geographically. So in the lower left-hand corner, you'll see a little plus and a little 4 lines there, menu icon. I'm going to click on that where it says All Sheets, and there's a hidden tab right there called Download. We hid that just to show you that you could have hidden forms, hidden sheets if you need to. I'm going to click that Download, and you'll see a pop-up right over here. And this is already formatted to have the type of device that was asked for, that same latitude and longitude already split up, and the coverage. So all this information will already be ready to go. And we're going to download this information as a CSV file, or comma separated value file. So I'm on this tab. I'm going to go up to File, Download, CSV. And that's going to download right on my computer here. And that will bring us to the visualizing our information section. So for this part of the process, we have already collected our data, and now we're going to visualize that information. So to do that, we're going to connect the data we've downloaded with a Google map. So if we go to mymaps.google.com, create a new map in the upper left. We'll title that map. In the upper left, we'll click and call it coverage. And we're going to import a layer right here. So if I click import, I'm going to select a file. We'll go find our data collector download, CSV file. Now it should automatically detect the latitude and longitude. Click continue, and then we'll put the type of device as our title. And I'll click finish. And so let's change the base map so we can see these. But if I click on the base map, the little triangle here, pull down, I can click that. And I can see, so here's what this was a hotspot, it was what carrier it was, and what the coverage was. And I can kind of click around and see my different locations. And this is something that I could share. So if I wanted to show what the coverage is here, I could click share in the upper left here. I could let anyone with this link view it, or I could keep it individual if I want to. This will help us visualize the data collection that we had. Moving along in our process, we have collected our data, we have visualized that information, and now we need to interpret the findings. So for this, we're going to compare the information that we collected and visualized with data that other people have. In this case, we're going to use the FCC. So this website here is created by the Federal Communications Commission, and they're basically talking about the mobile LTE coverage map. And so they base this on 4 different carriers, and the most common ones, AT&T, Verizon, US Cellular, and T-Mobile. And so we can zoom in on the map, and we can see there's Maine. Now, we're not looking at voice for this task. We're actually looking at just data. So if I look over here on the right, I can see the different carriers, and I can click on them, and we'll see where they're saying that they have coverage. I can kind of turn them all on here, and we'll see, oops, it says mobile. There we go. And so I can kind of zoom in. So I could certainly zoom into your area, and you can turn these on and off and see if it reflects the information that you collected. So if you are in an area that doesn't have good coverage, or if it says it does, you're going to interpret that and connect those 2 pieces of information. For the final aspect of our process, after we have collected our data, visualized the information that we collected, interpreted those findings, now we need to communicate the results. For that, we're going to use slides.new. This is just a Google slideshow, but we're going to show you how to connect that to the data, so as you make changes or updates, it will automatically update the ways that you're sharing this information with others. So this is just a Google slideshow. We'll start by renaming the presentation coverage. And I'm just going to highlight and delete the template that comes with it. And we'll click the little X up here in the upper right. So now we have a nice clean canvas. Okay. We need to navigate back to our spreadsheet, our data collector. So here's the spreadsheet that we had, where we had our responses and the directions. We're going to go to the bars tab. This is where we had the different carriers and what percentage bars they had. I'm going to click and hold down and highlight from B3 all the way down to column C. So all of this is highlighted because we're going to make a chart or graph based on that information. So once it's selected and highlighted, I'm going to go to Insert, Chart. Now, this pulled up by default a pie chart, and I'm not interested in that. That's not what we're looking for. What I can do over here on the right side, I can click Chart Type, and let's change that to a bar graph. That looks a little better. One other thing we can do here is we can drag this over to the right side. So it won't affect the actual data we're referencing here on the left, but we can see it a little bit easier. Now, there's a lot of controls for the different graphs. We can, as I mentioned, already change the chart type. We can scroll down here. There's all kinds of different options. I would go to Customize in the upper right. One thing I am going to change here is the title. So I'm just going to double click on that and we'll just say what percentage bars we have. So I'm just going to delete that right there. All right. What else can we want to do? Well, before we start messing with different options here, I actually want to insert this into that slideshow. So if we were going to share the slideshow with somebody else, I'm going to click on the chart. I'm going to copy, so Control C, or I can click Edit, copy here, go to the slideshow, and edit, and paste. So one thing it's going to ask is, do you want to link the spreadsheet or paste unlinked? This is important. Linked spreadsheet means that as things are updated, it will automatically change in the results. If you paste it unlinked, that means it's kind of like a snapshot. It's a one-time image of what's going on. We're going to keep it as linked. Click Paste. And here is our chart. This is based on the data that was collected. Now, let's say we make a change on the actual data. I'm going to come back over here to the spreadsheet. And I want to change this from kind of a boring two-dimensional chart. I'm going to click Chart Style up here, and we'll make it 3D so it sticks out a little bit more. And let's do our background color. We're going to make that a nice yellow here. There we go. So it sticks out even better. Now, if I'm making changes on the spreadsheet, if I go back to the slide here, you'll notice here in the upper right a little update button appeared. I can click that update, and now this now reflects the changes that were made. So as changes are made here in the spreadsheet, it will automatically reflect up here on the slideshow. Now this could be shared with anybody. You can publish it. This could be publicly shared, so this will always have the information, the most current information that you want to share and communicate with other people. The next step in the process, now that the data has been collected, is to visualize that information. For this, we'll use the tool mymaps.google.com. The next step in the process, now that we've collected some data and the information has been visualized, is to interpret our findings. For this, we will use an fcc.gov website that covers mobile internet coverage. This map is provided by the Federal Communications Commission and shows where areas are covered by which This website, created by the This site, built by the Federal Communications Commission, or the FCC, shows where around the United States that coverage is by different companies. So if we click on the mobile map, we can see, zoom into Maine, and we can see different companies such as AT&T, T-Mobile, US Cellular, and Verizon. To turn these on, we can click the little checkbox beside it. We're not interested in voice in this instance. We're really only interested in internet data. And we can see where they claim that they are covered. And we can see where their coverage is on. You can compare this to your own information that you've collected and built. So in our process, we have collected data, we have visualized our information, we have interpreted our findings, and finally, we're going to communicate our results. There's many ways you can communicate the results of your findings. In this instance, we're going to use slides.new and create a new slideshow to import a graph of our findings.